Hi, I'm Koehler. I'm 30 years now, living near Stuttgart, and I've been drifting for 12 years with this thing behind me.
A few screws loose in the head, I'm a psycho. Promise you the bar just as real as the bike though. Misunderstood, you could call me a typo. I shine hotter than the stars in the night though. Hate the who's, don't give me a title. Flipped in that set, so I don't worry the price though. Got scratched like mine, no, leave it to the tribal. I ain't even trying to try though. I could do this with my eyes closed. If I got nothing on my goals, my girl ain't plastic, she don't even recycle.
So the story behind the car. I bought the car 12 years ago. This is my very first car. I got it right when I was 18. At that point in time, they weren't very cool, but I always had love for them from my grandpa who owned one, and so for me those cars were always pretty cool. I mean, it was rear-wheel drive, it was easy to work on, it was reliable, you could get parts for cheap, so for me it was a perfect base to start, and I've been interested in drifting for a few years before that. I figured I'd start with a reliable, daily drivable car, and it slowly kind of got out of hand with the daily driver thing. So I've street driven the car for 2 years. I mean, the very first mod when I was still 18 wasn't suspension or crazy wheels, it was actually a CAS 1.5 way differential, because I wanted to start with the drifting thing. And from then on it carried on into, you know, the typical wheel suspension stuff. Then I started registering for like some local events where it was still wet, so I could handle it with the blazing 131 horsepower this car had. Kept carrying on and driving more, and then slowly I always tried to keep the car not as high spec, so I can max out everything on the car before I would start adding more stuff, like more angle and everything. Especially money was tight. I was still, you know, had my first job and money wasn't very good, parts were still expensive. Compared to now, obviously, it's a whole different world, but it got out of hand very, very quickly because I was running like, at that point, like I had the hydro installed and cut knuckles, and I wanted more horsepower, as everyone does, because my competition, when I was already starting to compete, was BMWs, M3s, S chassis, so 130 horsepower, not really cutting it. So first started with a turbo kit that I kind of slapped together myself. Then from then on it carried more into a build engine, bigger turbo, and then of course parts started exploding. Yeah, pretty much just at some point I've been competing at that point for like 3 or 4 years, and always been struggling with braking, suspension parts, braking, drivetrain parts, and the engine wasn't really suited for what we were doing with drifting. I was sponsored at the time by a company that was specialized in MX-5 parts and tuning, and when that sponsoring ran out I sold everything, and at that point I've picked up some experience. I mean, fabrication wasn't my strong point because I've never really done it before, but I had to learn it somehow. I quit the sponsorship and just started ripping the car apart because there were many things I wasn't pleased with. Yeah, I was kind of egged on as well, like if you can do it better, just do it yourself. So I figured I'd just do it. Then started the journey of my very first engine conversion. I mean, I sold everything, I took everything apart. Started with the bare shell at this point again. Bought an 1UZ VVTi engine, got the adapter kit for a BMW transmission, and just looked around how to modify the chassis to get the engine to fit. Got some information and some parts from friends from South Africa. Apparently has a very big scene for 1UZ swaps, which is something I wasn't aware of. I always said like how to do an engine swap. I mean, you have to shove object A into object B, and if option A doesn't really fit in there, you just have to cut and weld until it does fit. So this is pretty much how this car was made. That started a 9-month journey of building from a bare shell to what it is right now. In between there were so many other steps. I had to learn a lot. I made so many mistakes. Like, there were so many stupid little things that brought me a lot of experience. This car taught me everything on how to build a car, how to set up a car, how to do kind of work. I mean, wiring was never a big issue for me, since it's my job to work with wiring and everything. So when I made the engine harness, it was tough. Really, it's nothing to lie about. It wasn't easy, but if you just read yourself into it, everything's starting to make sense. Had some struggle. I mean, everyone that has run an EcoMaster knows the struggle of flipping the plug upside down and reading it the wrong way. So I had to repin everything there, and air bubbles in the cooling system because I made something wrong, didn't think about air pockets killing the complete flow of the water. And yeah, I mean, I did that conversion. I think I just recently looked it up. I think it was 6 years now where I made the V8 conversion now. When I was driving, I was always thinking, like, what could I do better on the car? What modifications could I do next? I mean, cooling system was one of the first ones. Put the radiator in the back, and because I've always wanted to do a rear radiator setup, just to try how to build it and how to do it, and it works fantastic. This car doesn't never get hot. It's like super reliable on temperature. The thermal cooling is insane on this car. Then there were some things like power steering, which is something I've gladly never had big issues with, because this is running a electronic column from an Opel Corsa. So never had issues with the fluids boiling over or something, because I've had struggle with it. I tried around a lot. The car so far has been working wonderfully after it has worked not wonderfully many times. There were breakdowns, there were parts breaking, things I didn't think about, stuff built too weak, just too complicated. Just try to keep everything and make it more simple. At this point, it's been 12 years now, and there's a lot of stuff in this car that is like stupid things you did when you were younger. There were some mistakes, and there's no point in redoing certain things if it's not entirely necessary. I mean, especially because my focus is on the BMW build right now, and just trying to enjoy other things in life. But yeah, 12 years owning this car. None of it came overnight. This wasn't I built it in a big shop with a lot of people. I did 98% of the work I did myself with my own two hands, mostly by myself, because I enjoy the shop time, just having time for yourself. Build something because it gives you a satisfaction feeling of just having built something with your own hands that you are in control of. Like, this is in your hands, how it's working, how it's gonna look like. And that comes with all the good stuff that's gonna look great, and you're like proud of it, and also the stuff that's gonna look not that great, and you're always going to be ashamed of it and like hiding it at some point. But this is like part of a development. Everything on this car is like easy to get parts from all kinds of manufacturers. Fuel pumps are from Mercedes, coils are from Volkswagen, like the throttle position sensor and stuff is like, all of it is BMW. Alternators from Ford. Steering, obviously, as I said, is like Opel Corsa. So there's a lot of things you can just get everywhere, and it just makes life easier if you don't have to struggle with like specially ordered parts and everything. Overall, the car taught me everything I know right now, and it's been a ride. It's been quite the experience. Driving the car, building the car, it taught me into the driver I am right now. It's not an easy car to drive compared to like every other chassis, but you live and learn, and I like challenging stuff somehow. So I guess that's the only way you can drive something like this and build it. And I mean, it's a fun ass car, but it's slowly starting to get time to kind of retire it and maybe use it not for competition, just for having fun, because that's what it does best. So it was nice talking to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and tune in for more content on Clutch Kick Motorsport. Bye bye.